Yes, so just a quick introduction on myself. My name is Esther. Some of you might know me. I'm a market development manager here at Vrbo Fivo Direct, and I'm usually looking after property managers that are new to Vrbo and that are looking to connect to Vrbo in either via software or directly. So I would be usually the first point of contact at Vrbo for people, property manager who want to list on Vrbo to deal with. I'm just going to start sharing my screen, and then I take you to the presentation. So it's starting here. So can you all see? Yeah,
Your
think that this
screen is being shared. I can see it. Yes.
Perfect. That's what I want to hear. Great. Okay, then let me start. I'm going to start with a bit about Vrbo, just tell you a little bit about the company, where our focus is, where we came from and what we do. And have a special focus about the Vrbo guest, because we have, I think we do have some good characteristics of guests that might be interesting for you as a property manager. We're going to look at the latest travel and market trends, also specifically on certain markets, to try to tailor it a little bit to interest. And then the last part, but probably the most interesting part then, is what needs to be done, how to connect from Sabi app to Vrbo, what are the steps, what are the requirements, and David is going to join in then on that session as well. So as you know, Vrbo, which is short for Vacation Rental by Owner, is part of Expedia Group since 7 years by now. Before that, Vrbo has always been vacation rental company, a big online platform, especially in the US for the online advertisement of vacation rental. So since we joined Expedia, or since Expedia took over Vrbo in 2016, it has remained that focus of the business, that it's the focus of vacation rental is on Vrbo, while Expedia still is more the conventional lodging, the traditional OTA business. But yeah, in the background, things are aligning more and more. But going forward, it's going to be that split also going forward. Vrbo is going to be vacation rental focused, and specifically really looking after that type of holidays. To give you an idea, obviously Vrbo, the brand is from the US, but it's also known worldwide, mostly as the Vrbo brand. So also mostly in the English-speaking areas, of course, UK and the US as well. But for instance, also in Spain and Italy, it's known as Vrbo. We also kept the more regional brands in bigger markets. For instance, some of you might know Fivo Direct, which has already been there since 26 years, actually, on the German-speaking markets. And after becoming part of HomeAway and then hence becoming part of Vrbo, it was still decided to keep that name of the brand because it just has a really strong local attraction. And the same goes for Abritel, which is the French brand of Vrbo in the French market. But yeah, Vrbo would be the mother of all of them. And even though we have all the different names, the system in the background is the same. They're language specific, of course, but in the end, in the background, everything works the same. And also for you as a property manager, if you are listing on one of the brands, you will automatically be displayed on all of the brands. So we look after the internal distribution here from our end. So if you, for instance, decide to onboard on Vrbo, you will automatically also list on Abritel and on Fivo Direct, for example. Just to give you some idea of numbers here, so it's been 26 years now that Vrbo has been one of the world's leading vacation rentals companies, especially for families. So that's really the traditional audience we've always been focusing on, and that's also what we keep doing. To give you some ideas of numbers, I put some numbers here on the right. There's just on traffic, on the volumes that you might see on our sites, there's about 15.9 million unique visitors that only come to the Vrbo website. So not only Vrbo, but also Fivo Direct, Abritel, and all those. but it's really huge volumes that we generate per month for people looking to book their next vacation and holiday with us. That encounters for 257 million page visits per month as well. So obviously, there's a lot of click-throughs and properties to check out. We have over 2 million properties on Vrbo available worldwide. Those are really unique properties. That's really where Vrbo is strong. We really have unique vacation rentals, holiday homes that people are looking to book for the next holiday. I mentioned that already. We have a strong focus on families, and that shows here as well. 70% of the people who travel on Vrbo or book on Vrbo are really traveling with the family or in a smaller private group, often with children, very often with children actually. So you can expect, groups, maybe, to call it groups from 3 people plus is actually the typical booking that you might see from Vrbo. And on the good side for us as well, in 2022, Vrbo was one of the most downloaded travel apps worldwide. So that also shows obviously the demand and the significance of Vrbo in the vacation rental space. So to tell you a little bit about our clients, sorry, I need to move this here. It's a bit slow, sorry, I jumped ahead, yeah. So. Yes, as we have a strong audience a strong focus on families and smaller groups, that traditionally comes with certain traits. So for instance, that's an audience that likes to plan ahead, that likes to stay a little bit longer, and that shows here it stays 3 times longer than other travelers. That comes with the traits, the characteristics of small groups traveling together, especially when they're traveling with children. Obviously, they like to travel over the holiday. Vacation rental booking would be a holiday stay for them. So that would be at least a week, if not even longer. 3 times longer, that's compared to the other brands within the Expedia group. So compared to, for instance, bookings that we get on Expedia or on hotels.com, for example. Also, the Vrbo traveler likes to spend a little bit more, or if you compare it within the Expedia groups, it's even up to 5 times more. Again, that obviously comes with the characteristic of the traveler. If it's a larger group, they're looking for a larger property, coming with a higher rate. But it's also an audience that is quite specific on what they're looking for, and to really book that property that really ticks most of the boxes, they're actually willing to spend a little bit more. And yes, I mentioned that. I can only repeat myself here. It brings more people. Obviously, as we said before, people like to travel in the family, so you will see bookings of 3 people or even more. So what is the value that Vrbo can bring to you? I mentioned that the high quality traveler that likes to stay a little bit longer, spends a little bit more, comes with more people, but also that's people who like to plan ahead, especially if it's a family planning their holidays. They usually don't book so much last minute. We would usually see most of the bookings 3 to 6 months out, but also that depends a little bit as well, obviously also a little bit on the property type as such. But overall, you can say it's an audience that likes to book at least 3 months in ahead, if not even longer before that. From our side, what we offer our partners, so property managers that are listings with us on Vrbo, we have a really good customer service for our partners that starts with the onboarding. So that would be me, for instance, or one of my colleagues in the market development team as a first point of contact to really help you to make the best choices. What is the best way for you to connect to Vrbo? What are the pros and cons? And then really support you in the process of getting connected with the onboarding. For example, when you're working with the software, like for instance here as a Sabi app customer, then we have an onboarding team that will help you while we are working on the connection. after the integration is done, we have a team that is looking after the health of the integration from a technical point of view. We also have support teams. And then at the end of it, once you're connected and fully onboarded with Vrbo, we have a dedicated account management team that is really working with you and really working with you together to make the most of your connection and to win bookings for you and be successful on Vrbo. Obviously, if you're listing on Vrbo, you are listing within the Expedia group. So you really have the global exposure across all our brands. Not only will you be distributed across the Vrbo network with the different brands, but you might also be listed on Expedia. At the minute, it's still different. Onboarding to Expedia is still separate to onboarding from Vrbo. But from Vrbo to Expedia, we have an internal distribution, for example, that your property might also show on Expedia. So that gives you an even bigger exposure to a even more different audience then as well. So yeah, overall, across all the Expedia network, you would have access, or you technically would have access to 750 million traveler visits monthly worldwide. So it's a very international audience, obviously, as well. So it's not only the English-speaking brands, but we have the local brands as well. And so Expedia is really a global company from that perspective. Also, obviously, for you, ease of mind, especially when you're connecting with a software like Sabi app, it makes your life as a property manager really, really easy. Because everything will still be managed in one place. So it's we have quite an easy onboarding process in place. We get to that later. Obviously, there's a bit of preparation to be done. But technically, once you are ready to onboard to Vrbo, the onboarding process is really fast and straightforward. And once that is done, everything will be managed in one place. So you will actually only use Sabi app going forward to manage all your bookings, to manage your payments, to manage your properties. And so that makes it really easy for you to keep the overview, and you don't have to switch between different systems. Also, even though you're listing obviously on Vrbo, you still have the full control over your property. So you can set the rules for your terms and conditions, for your rates, obviously, for your cancellation policies, and if you want to list or if you want to deactivate listings for a certain time. So that really stays in your hands, and you keep the full control over that. So, okay, then I will continue and give you some travel and market trends from the last couple of months. To start with the travel trends, that's really some recommendations that we would like to give you as a property managers, what we've seen from our partners over the last couple of months, and obviously from the trends that we see from our customers. Vacation rental inventory is still going strong at the minute, so there is still a good demand that has kept up. But also on the other hand, the supply is catching up with the demand. So that obviously means that the space is becoming a little bit more competitive. People are comparing prices a little bit more again. So that's just really something to watch out for. While over COVID, not in every area, but in certain areas, obviously prices really were rocketing at that point. This is leveling off a little bit for property managers if you want to stay competitive from our data at least. Travelers are still looking for flexibility, especially that shows in a flexible cancellation policy. So that's what we see in our conversion rates, that properties that have a flexible cancellation policy, they still have a much higher conversion than properties that have a very strict cancellation policy. And flexible cancellation policy doesn't have to mean that you have to give a full refund one day before a traveler arrives, but at least that there is some flexibility in there that gives the traveler the chance to cancel if something comes up. And on the other hand, it doesn't equalize that a more flexible cancellation policy means that you will have more cancellations. It's more the contrary. We pretty much see the same cancellation rates across all the different cancellation policies that we offer. But obviously, you get a lot more bookings when you have a flexible cancellation policy. And the last point that refers to pricing. that's more in relation to that we recommend to our property managers to make the pricing as easy or as transparent as possible. So obviously a daily rate and 1 or 2 fees, be able to display end rates from the very beginning, don't have any hidden fees that show up or come up when the traveler proceeds with the booking. Because that will lead to frustration, and also it confuses travelers, because if you have a lot of different fees, that obviously is not very transparent for the traveler. So keep it simple. That's really the message that we have here, and make it as easy as possible for the travelers to book. I have some data for you. Looking at the list of participants, I understand we obviously have a lot of participants from Hungary, and also I've seen there's quite a few from the UK. So I will focus on these 2 markets. I don't obviously want to leave anybody in the back. So we have a lot of data. So if you're interested, if you have work on a different market, have a different destination, obviously reach out to me and we can provide any kind of data that you are looking for on that. So this is also, it's quite high level. So obviously we can dig in more specifically than what I present here. First of all, so this is Hungary. First of all, the market trends that we've seen over the last couple of years. The first one in the top left, that's really the booking volumes that we've seen since 2022. So we actually had a good increase here of 37% from 2022 to 2023. The year is not over yet, so it still might go a little bit higher. Obviously, we see we have a strong focus on seasonality, which is also related. Hungary obviously has always been a strong destination as a holiday destination, and July, August traditionally are strong months. But also we've seen good growth there in the off-season months, and have been able to extend the season a little bit, which is good news. If you look then at the top right, that's just a mix of the source markets. Germany. Oh, sorry, it's actually at the bottom. Bottom left, sorry, that's the source market. I have the bar over the headline there. But yeah, so you see, obviously Germany would be for the people booking on Vrbo, or in this case it would be obviously Vrbo Direct. That would be really our biggest travelers coming to Hungary. That also probably relates then that there is a strong focus on the seasonality, because these would be holiday bookings then, that what you would see from those markets. But also quite a strong share on the United States. So to look at the figure precisely, it's about 27% of the bookings that come from the United States. And then from the United Kingdom, Canada, and France, which are proportionate, rather small compared to that. That's usually, it's mostly travelers from Northern America as well, Europe, Far East, or Middle Eastern as well. So it's a good mix, but yeah, a strong focus that might not surprise some of German travelers. You can also see that then reflecting in the length of stay, which is now in the top right. So German travelers really topping it there with an average of 8 days. So again, this displays that they're looking to book a holiday stay. But also on the other markets, quite a good length of stay there from the United States with 5.4 days. And overall, we have an average length of stay of 5.4 days across the bookings. Obviously, it's high level. It doesn't take into consideration where the property is. The seasonality is not considered here, the size of the property, the type of a property. But again, if you're interested to see more specific data, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to get that over to you. Just the last graph there at the bottom right, the average daily rates, that's 2022, 2023 as well. Averaging at 154, it's US dollars. Again, obviously it doesn't reflect the type of property or the unique traits that you might have on the property. It's an overall average daily rate. And obviously there's differences in different types of property. But just to give you an idea, Germany here, I noticed there's something funny with the colors here, but Germany is the one really at the left, and then the United States. So it's in correspondence with the line below. So the highest rates you would actually see from the United Kingdom, which is interesting. So moving on to the UK, same structure. I have the bookings for 2022 and 2023. We had a slight drop of 2.4%, unfortunately, as compared to 2022. But again, the year is not over, and hopefully we still might be able to catch up over the last couple of weeks coming into Christmas. And as we see there is a bit of a rise again in the off-peak season in November and December with the bookings. And yeah, so hopefully we're going to be able to have the same numbers as 2022 as well. The traveler origin, we have a very, very strong domestic market in the United Kingdom. So really people from the UK looking to book their holiday in the UK, that accounted for it around 60% of all the bookings in the UK actually come from UK travelers. Second largest would be the United States, which is under 30%, and then followed by Germany, Canada, and Australia. Other would be similar as to Hungary, mostly people coming from North America, Europe, and Middle East and Far East. The average length of stay, we see the same pattern as we did in Hungary here. Quite good. Overall, it's 4.6, the average that we have in the UK average length of stay. And again, Germany here with 7 days, topping the list. Again, this reflects the desire for holiday stays. And then at the very bottom, we have the average daily rates. Again, this is dollars, really, really high average daily rates from the United States, nearly $100 per night higher than from other markets. So looking at the share of travelers coming from the United States and the rates that they bring, this is obviously quite an attractive market to tap into. And again, same as in Hungary, it's high level. It doesn't consider the characteristics of each property. Okay, so I will move on to the interesting part, I hope. So how does it all work? How can we connect from Vrbo to Sabo? How can you connect from Sabi app to Vrbo this way around? So just to give you a few technical things, there's a few requirements. As I said, it's fairly straightforward to connect from Sabi app to Vrbo, but there's a little bit of preparation required. And we have a few requirements that need to be ticked. Just to briefly run you through some of the hardware. If you connect to Vrbo, it's free. So we don't charge a subscription fee. We always have a pay per booking model, and we charge a commission per booking. That depends a little bit. The commission is market specific, so that can be between 12 and 15%, depending on the location of the property. As I mentioned before, there's no commitment. It's very flexible, so you can really choose which properties you want to share on Vrbo. Also, you have the possibility to activate and deactivate listings if something comes up, or if, for instance, if you sell the property. So you can take them out of your portfolio easily, and once you switch them off, for example, they would be pretty much instantly be switched off on Vrbo as well. You stay in control of your properties, of the bookings and the payments, because even if a guest books on Vrbo, the payment and the booking will actually be received in Sabi app, and you will actually manage it from there. So that means you will be merchant of record. You are in charge of also issuing refunds in case something comes up. But yeah, you're in control of all the payments directly. And obviously you get, when you, I mentioned that at the very beginning, if you onboard to one of the Vrbo brands, you will automatically be listed on all across the Vrbo brands. You will also show on Vrbo Direct and on App Retail, and just the onboarding will be brand specific. But once you're on Vrbo, you will be all across Vrbo and will have the exposure to the huge audience. Just some preparation which is needed in Sabi app, which is really the requirements that we have to get you ready for onboarding. You need to have a payment method set in Sabi app. So if you accept offline payment, online payment means card payments by guests. So you need to be able, obviously, to process the payment by the guest. A requirement would be that you are fully onboarded in Sabi app, so that your properties are fully onboarded. with everything, not only rates and availabilities, but also descriptions, headlines, amenities, pictures, your terms and condition, and so on. Because I know every channel has a different kind of connection. For us, it's a full API integration. So we really pull over all the information from Sabi app and display the information as you have it in Sabi app and Vrbo. And there's no need to set anything up on our side, and just really an account that we need to receive your information from Sabi app, and for the billing then as well. You need to be registered for VAT, or at least you need to be registered as a company. That's because of the billing process that we have in place, as you will be merchant of record. If you're not registered for VAT, that's okay. We can work with the company registration as well. Obviously, VAT is preferred, but we understand obviously there's a lot of freelancers or smaller companies for whom it's not feasible. So company registration number would be fine. Currency and language setting, we are a little bit special in that sense, because we have the specific brands on Vrbo. We need to make sure that it matches. So for instance, if you decide to onboard to Vrbo UK, that's obviously one of our English speaking brands. You need to send us your language descriptions and headlines. It needs to be in English. Also, we unfortunately don't support every local currency at the minute. That's something that will hopefully come in the future, but at the minute, we are not quite there yet. So for currency settings, you would, if you're onboarding to Vrbo UK, we need to receive your rates in euros or British pounds. If, for instance, if you're on board to Abritel, your language would be in French and the rates would be euros. For Vrbo Direct, for instance, then it would be German and the rates, the currency would be euros as well. And then for the billing, that's an important point, as you will take the full guest payment. We will then actually charge you for the commission. And that's an automated process from our side. And the commission will always be charged by debit or credit card. So that's mandatory from our end. And that's something, the details that we take during the onboarding process then as well. So that's really the requirements from our side. This is just a short overview. I've actually been through that, so I skipped it and I pass over to David.
Thanks, Esther. Okay, so from my part, I'd like to touch on two topics today. One is related to what data is actually being synchronized between our two platforms, and the second part is related to the requirements. So I'm head of partnerships, been with Sabia for 7 years. I checked the registration list. I have met with several of you attending here live today. I'm working together with connectivity partners and different players from inside the hotel tech world, and trying to bring you their solutions, try to increase your value add and your experience working together with Sabia. Now, Vrbo has a special place with our partners, among our partners, for two reasons. One is being a well-known, well-recognized brand within the vacation rental segment. I know, I'm sure many of you know that we have strong roots in the VR segment, having created the software initially for managing vacation rental properties. The second reason why it's special is due to the self-service onboarding process. So we have among our midterm plans to transform our channel manager product, which is seamlessly incorporated into the hotel management system that we provide, to be self-service all the way through. So we want all of our channel partners to support this and enable you to do the mapping process on your own at your own time, and without having to interact with our team or the partners team as it is. So this is very much future oriented and something super special about Vrbo. So that's why I'm really happy that we're in partnership and we're able to bring you the option to do self-service onboarding already. So with that said, when it comes to data synchronization, you kind of know the drill already. Our platform is seamlessly working as a property management system and a channel manager. So you do need to do the mapping just one time, and then from there on, you control your inventory and rates, everything from there on, from Sabia, without having to access two different platforms. Now, in terms of what data is actually being synchronized, we're looking at rates, we're looking at availability, restrictions, which cover minimum night stay restrictions, close to arrival and close to departure restriction, which essentially means you're blocking either check-ins or check-outs for specific dates. New bookings generated via Vrbo automatically are transferred to SubbyUp and assigned to the correct room, as well as booking modifications and cancellations are being synchronized. Esther, if you can move to the next slide, I try to make it a bit more visual for you.
Stuck.
Okay.
So
yeah, here we go.
Jump? Okay.
So this really simple flowchart just to show you how the process works. So we have you, the host, on one end, and the guest just waiting to book your properties on the other end. Now in the middle, we have SubbyUp and Vrbo communicating. SubbyUp being your channel manager, doing the data sync, and then Vrbo is actually taking care of the online distribution. We've checked what information is being sent from SubbyUp, so it's restrictions, rates, and availability, and then Vrbo is passing on new bookings directly to your SubbyUp account. With SubbyUp, we have a heavy emphasis on the all-in-one approach. So instead of you having to incorporate and contract different tech providers within your technology stack, we provide you with tools to manage your day-to-day operation, your online distribution. We're also working with digital guest experience as well as payment automation. These last two are super important because guest experience ties back to your online reputation as well as the revenue that you can expect going into the future, and the digital aspect of guest experience can really help you to scale and to increase the guest overall satisfaction. I mean, having stayed at your property. With payments, like Esther emphasized, payments is a must-have tool in order to be connected and visible through Vrbo, and we're working hard with the team in the backgrounds to bring you as much payment automation in the background as possible. We firmly believe that going forward, the digital payments will be common practice within the industry. Where us dealing with perishable inventory, there's just no way that we keep on guaranteeing rooms for bookings without any prepayments happening. Digital payments are going to be significantly important for the industry going forward, and we're working on that along with our product SubbyPay. Esther, could you move on to the next slide, please? Thanks. So let's now that we understand of how these different systems work together and what data is actually being transferred or communicated between the platforms, let's check the content requirements real fast. Now, we talked about this being a self-service mapping. While that does have its perk, you being able to connect on your own terms, it does come with some basic knowledge, some education that you need to be aware of. What's the process, the steps that you have to make in order to be connected from your SubbyUp account. So in terms of content related requirements, these are the few things that you need to be aware of. You need to have your headline text, essentially the title of the room with at least 20 characters. The description of the room types needs to have at least 400 characters. The photos, again, very important when it comes to the actual decision-making process from the guests, from the visitor side. Having those super attractive, you need to have a minimum of 6 photos uploaded per room type. You must indicate, again, on a room type level, the bedroom and the bathroom count, and also make sure that the address is indicated with the geographical coordinates. Thanks. And now when it comes to requirements on an account level, there's a few things you need to be aware of. The first being super important is that you need to have at least 5 room types being managed under your SubbyUp account. So again, SubbyUp does the power of automation that we bring it does pay off, as you are increasing your own inventories. You need to make sure that you at least you have 5 room types uploaded into your account. You need to have a maximum of 1 room unit assigned per each room type. I mean, it does make sense. We're talking about the vacation rental segment. Each room type is going to be unique in its traits, qualities, and could also happen to be on a different location than the rest of the properties. And then the last important thing to remember is that you need to make sure that you have a separate rate plan created specific to Vrbo, and you need to enable the price relation model over there. I'll get to that in a second with the steps to follow on what specifically you need to add in the price relation model. Thanks. So let's take a look at the connection steps. Now, if you navigate over to the Help Center inside SubUp, you'll find a very detailed article on this topic. You can always reach out to our customer support team through chat or just book a quick online catch-up. But we'll also make sure to include contact details for the Vrbo team as well if you ever get stuck and you need additional help. Esther was already kind enough to offer you her help, so you can also reach out to her directly. So I've broken down the connection to 6 steps. Let's start off with the first 3 on this slide. So the very first step that you need to make is reach out to your Vrbo implementation specialist. The implementation specialist is going to provide you with a Vrbo listing IDs that you'll then need to use during the connection step under your SubUp account to make sure that the correct room types are mapped together as the listings on Vrbo and the room types created under your SubUp account. Now, the second step to go with is that you need to define your policies. Policies are located under settings inside your SubUp account. Highly likely that you already have these set up because this is not exclusive to Vrbo, but the rest of your online distribution as well. So you need to make sure that you have policies related to children, pets, smokings, check-in and check-out, all adjusted for your SubUp account. As the third step, please make sure to create Vrbo as a distribution partner under your SubUp account. It's gonna come with some perks. You'll be able to see which bookings were created through Vrbo, so those will be tagged. You'll also be able to see what the booking volume was actually generated via Vrbo, and also keep track of your commission payments. Oh yeah, going through on the right side, I've included a couple of our customers just to showcase you that how the information that you actually adjust inside your SubUp account is going to be visualized on Vrbo. It's going to be visualized pretty. It looks attractive. So continuing through with the fourth step, you need to make sure that the room type details are set. You need to add the room type's name, the description, maximum occupancy, the address that we talked about, and the minimum 6 photos per room type. Following through with the fifth step, you need to set up your rate plan. So creating the separate Vrbo rate plan inside your SubUp account, you need to enable the price relation model, and you need to set the base occupancy to be with 1 person and using fixed multipliers to then generate the rest of the pricing based on the occupancy level. That leads us to the 6th step, which is enabling the actual connection. You need to navigate over to the distribution channel manager menu inside your SubUp account, select Vrbo from the inactive channels list, and then it's going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's going to guide you through how you need to assign the cancellation policies, the payment terms, currency settings, the room types that you're actually listing through Vrbo, and then finally, you just need to click on Finalize Connection button, and then the connection will be live. From there on, you'll just need to keep using your SubUp account for managing your property.
Thank you, David. So that's the preparation in Savvy but you're not yet connected to Vrbo. So we still need to do the online onboarding. So that's really then the step that actually gets your Savvy account connected to Vrbo. So there is a link in Savvy that you can follow to start that. Obviously, we will be able to share that link as well. So we need to do a short onboarding process to Vrbo. It's really quick. It's self-service. It's online. It takes about 10 minutes. And I've listed the steps here on the right. So some of you might already have a Vrbo user account. So even if you might have listed in the past directly on Vrbo, we will be able to use that account, and you can use that account actually going forward to connect to Savvy. So you will need to log into Vrbo and or create a username if you don't have an account yet. And we will just take some information from you, really just the things that we need. That will be the company and billing information, including the VAT or the company registration details. We will take the Savvy account details. So that's what David mentioned there with the listing ID and the account ID that we will be able to find you in the Savvy feed. We will present you with the listing contract. That's really mostly to the terms and conditions between you as a partner to us, and that you give us permission to distribute your content on your behalf across our sites. And obviously the payment and commission regulation, that's all in there. And then as a last step, we take credit card details for the billing and the payment. And once that is all done, we will receive your request for integration in our project queue, and the onboarding team will take over there from there. It's not many steps from there yet. They will basically do some tests to make sure that everything is coming over correctly, everything is shared correctly in Savvy and that we get the listings here to Vrbo. And then once all these tests come back positive, we will activate the interface, and you can be live within 24 to 72 hours after completing the onboarding. So it's really quick. And as mentioned before, there's no additional need to set up anything on Vrbo. If you have existing properties from an old account, for example, we would be able to map those. So for instance, if you have existing reviews on your account, we would also be able to bring these over. But apart from that, no need to set up any properties or any information manually on Vrbo, because everything will come from Savvy. Not stuck again, sorry. Oop. Yeah. Okay, this is just really a quick summary of all the steps. So obviously, first step, fully on board in Savvy have all your properties ready, prepare the Savvy account for the onboarding, and then basically go through the steps that I just explained, create a Vrbo account, do the onboarding, and then go live and receive bookings. And everything going forward will be managed in Savvy. So pretty straightforward, and sounds great. So here just the links, as I mentioned, it's language and currency specific. Just to give you an overview, there's different links you would need to use to onboard onto the different brands. So as I said, onboarding in English would be to Vrbo UK with rates in euro or British pounds. Onboarding to Fivo Direct would be in German and in euros, and onboarding to Abritel would be in French and in euros. So these are the common ones that I think most of our partners in Europe would use. So that's pretty much it from our side. So I hope you found all the information very useful, and thank you very much from my end for attending. As said, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help you and guide you through the process if there's any questions. It can be challenging at times. I understand that too. so that's why we're here, obviously, to help you and to make sure that you can get connected. So also thank you very much, David, for making this possible and supporting us on the webinar here and giving us the possibility to present Vrbo. And yes, at this point, I will hand back to Henrike, who will take over from the Q&As.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther and David. That was super interesting. Okay, I thought I'll just moderate a little bit of Q&A. And you do have the option to ask questions now in the Q&A button. We already had a few questions, so The first one that came in, I just wanted to say it was very specific and probably not ideal and very, it's a little bit too elaborate for the audience, I think. So we decided that we will reach out afterwards, and I already sent a message to the person. So another question that we have is Vrbo developing anything significant in the connectivity space in 2024? This is an excellent question, I think. I'm actually quite excited. I think 2024 will be a really great year for Vrbo, not just in terms of vacation rental growth, but also in terms of development on what we're doing for VR. So the first one, the first tool that is really relevant also for Sabi app, I believe, is further improving onboarding efficiency. So we do have self-service onboarding, but there are still some cases where manual intervention is required. And so Vrbo will further work on this. I think it's in the second quarter of next year, to make sure that we develop tools that can actually pull existing content from the Vrbo platform if you have a Vrbo account already, into the software, and then you don't have that need to enter anything manually. So this is just one scenario where that will help. Included with this development, there'll be many other things that are a little bit more specific to the software itself. You will feel the details, the repercussions of this, of course, in terms of a better connection, but it's a little bit too elaborate to explain here. So, but lots of things coming in the software space. The second one that is very exciting and really relevant is that we are planning to become a merchant of record. So Vrbo is planning to actually take payments. There is no timeline for this yet, but we have been waiting for this feature for a very long time. But finally, we're in the process of gathering the requirements. At the moment, we're talking to a lot of partners about it, to see how we can implement it, that it fits every single business that wants to work with us. We don't really know exactly what this will look like, but we do want to make sure that any potential partner can work with Vrbo, whether they have a payment provider or not. So we're hoping that there will be flexibility as well. Yeah, that's that. Let me just double check if there were any other questions coming in for now. We have one more. Okay, if we have more listings, like 50 plus in one Sabi app account, but we like to list only 5 to 10 listings on Vrbo, where do I specify which listings I would like to list on your site when we are in the onboarding process? David, would you like to take that?
Yeah, so this actually happens directly under the channel manager mapping process in your Sabi app account. So when you head over there and initiate the connection with Vrbo, you'll actually get the complete list of the properties that you're managing under your Sabi app account. And then next to each listing, you'll be able to activate or deactivate, leave by default deactivated those room types, and decide if you want to just enable specific room types on Vrbo that you have listings for, or you want to include all. So you do have that option on there.
Thank you very much, David. Okay, let me just double check if there is any more.
Can I just add something? From our end, from Vrbo side, there's actually no minimum property requirements. So it is possible from our end to onboard from just one property. I know there's always been this number of 5. And when we first started with the online onboarding process, it actually was a minimum of 5 properties that we need to onboard. But we reduced it, so the online onboarding via Sabi app can actually happen from one property only. That's possible.
It's a good update. Thanks for that, Esther.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, another question is quite a big one. Is what are the travel industry developments in the next few years from a Vrbo perspective? So this is a big question. I'm trying to make this most relevant. So in my opinion, I think there will be quite a lot of consolidation in terms of software companies being acquired. It's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but I think this is just what will happen. So we are trying to have a really healthy portfolio of lots of software companies, no matter what the size. And often and this is really speaking for smaller software companies such as Vrbo. I think often the better relationships are with the smaller ones because you can work more efficiently. And we can easily, without too much democracy going on, you can easily create webinars such as this one. You can easily get hold of customer service and so on. So I think that's a development that is inevitable. We're already seeing this. But yeah, it shouldn't affect you too much apart from maybe, that you will see a lot more marketing for the bigger companies, but that's not to say that they're necessarily the better ones. Another big one, I think, is that there is a lot more focus on automation and self-service. So everyone wants to have as much efficiency and as little effort as possible. So this is, this is a general development in the times we live in anyway, I think. So this is where Vrbo is also taking action, of course, and trying to make everything less manual and more automated. And then maybe one more in terms of the VR space. I do believe that it's a really strong growth segment, so growing stronger than conventional lodging, so hotels for sure. So we saw through COVID that there was a massive uptick in vacation rental, and we do believe that that's here to stay, even though it may have been just a little bit slower in the last year due to this oversupply that we've seen. But we do believe that people are constantly looking for alternative accommodation, and they see the value, especially for Vrbo customers like bigger groups. If you're booking a house for between 10 people, for example, it's so much cheaper than having 10 or 5 hotel rooms. So yeah, definitely a lucrative area still. And we would encourage everyone to list your, if you have vacation rentals, list them on Vrbo. You can't really go wrong, I would say. Okay, so your last chance. Any other questions? Feel free to type them. Or if you want to have any more questions answered, Esther had put up a couple of a slide with some context there. What we will do is we'll email a follow-up out to all the attendants, and then you will see some contact details there. If you want to connect, you can reach out to Esther directly. If you have any broader questions, feel free to ask me or David, or we can all relay the questions to the right person. So yeah, Esther, David, I think this is all we had. Yeah, am I missing anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Also from my end, everybody, thank you very much for your time and for attending. And yes, please reach out. Even though onboarding sometimes can be a lengthy process, so it needs a little bit of preparation and it needs a little bit of time sometimes. So obviously we're here to support, and yeah, really hope that we can work together and yeah, make the most of the connection that we can offer.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Esther. Thanks, Henrike.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.